in the headlines of this hour on VTV News. Prime Minister issues directive to speed up public investment disbursement. And Vietnamese export enterprises see surge in orders. In our world news, Israel agrees to resume Gaza ceasefire talks next week.
Broadcasting from Hanoi, the capital of Vietnam. VTV News starts right now.
Good afternoon. It is 3 p.m. local time and you're tuning in to VTV News. I'm Huyền Trân with the top stories. Prime Minister Phạm Minh Chính has just issued a directive on key tasks and solutions to accelerate the disbursement of public investment capital in the remainder of 2024. The goal is to meet over 95% of the planned disbursement rate and complete at least 3,000 kilometers of highways by the end of 2025 as part of the country's socio-economic development goals. Ministries, central agencies and localities are instructed to expedite investment procedures, bidding and land clearance to ensure the timely commencement of all allocated public investment projects. The directive also calls for strict adherence to disbursement schedules, enhanced supervision and a prompt resolution of any obstacles related to land and resources. The Prime Minister stressed the need for transparency, anti-corruption measures and the swift issuance of guidelines for the 2024 land law. Strict disciplinary actions are mandated against any delays caused by irresponsibility or intentional obstruction. Exports to the U.S. market have seen a strong recovery in recent months. While export turnover in the early months of the year ranged between 8.3 and 8.9 billion US dollars per month, it has exceeded 10 billion US dollars in the last 2 months. With the increase in import demand for the holiday season and a significant reduction in inventory, the U.S. market is expected to increase orders from Vietnamese suppliers. In the context of accelerating exports, Vietnamese goods are also facing numerous trade remedy investigations. As of June 2024, Vietnamese exports are subjected to over 250 trade remedy investigations from 24 different markets. Now, to minimize the incidence of export lawsuits, the Ministry of Industry and Trade has issued alerts for specific product categories. Now, based on this list, businesses can identify which items are under scrutiny and proactively develop appropriate strategies. In the first 7 months of this year, exports have emerged as a key driver of Vietnam's economic growth. As the global market recovers and orders increase, domestic businesses are experiencing a significant success. Many companies remain optimistic and confident that orders will continue to flow for the rest of the year and into early next year. Let's turn now to our report from Ho Chi Minh City.
In the first half of the year, this company reported 26% growth compared to the same period last year. This success is attributed to fruit exports like durian to China, grapefruit to the US and New Zealand, and longan to Japan. Looking ahead, the company is setting its sights on 30 to 35% growth in the second half, fueled by expansion into new markets.
We've recently gained approval to export grapefruit to South Korea, and China may soon increase its imports of our coconuts and grapefruits. We're expanding our cultivation, with 1,000 hectares of coconuts and growing grapefruit areas, while also enhancing quality.
In the textile and garment sector, export orders are surging in the final months of the year. Dunny Company reports a significant drop in last year's inventory levels, with increased orders coming from partners in the United States, the Middle East, and Southeast Asia.
In the remaining months of this year and even into February 2025, the company expects to operate at over 70% capacity. As negotiations continue and new contracts are finalized, we're on track to reach full capacity. This could very well be a year that exceeds our expectations.
These efforts have bolstered the recovery trajectory compared to 2023. Looking further ahead at the global economic landscape, key export markets for Vietnam like the US, EU, and Japan, along with new FTA partners, will provide a strong foundation for expanding our export scale.
To maintain growth in the final months of the year, the Ministry of Industry and Trade will boost coordination with ministries and localities. They'll focus on strengthening major markets, exploring new ones, and helping businesses adapt to new standards. The ministry will also closely monitor global market trends and import-export policies, providing timely updates to associations and businesses.
Now, in recent years, Hưng Yên has focused on organizing trade promotion programs to expand output for the province's main fruit crops. Through diverse trade connection activities, this year's longan from Hưng Yên has been selling smoothly at higher prices compared to last year.
This morning, the cooperative is mobilizing all its workforce to pack 500 kilograms of longan for delivery to Hanoi. Rather than focusing on traditional markets and fruit shops as usual, the cooperative has now primarily received orders for gifts. This market segment demands high-quality box designs and fruit traceability codes.
In this segment, Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City markets are the most attractive. Customers in these two cities also have very high quality demands for longan products.
In addition to initiative of cooperatives, the Department of Industry and Trade of Hưng Yên Province will organize weekly longan markets to create more sales opportunities for gardeners who are mainly concentrated in new urban areas of Hưng Yên and Hanoi. Along with that, the department will assist cooperatives in selling longan on e-commerce platforms.
At these markets, consumers can directly interact with cooperatives, exchange information, and place orders.
Recently, Hưng Yên also organized a conference to help cooperatives get updated on requirements of international market to gradually open doors for longan exports. Some businesses said that the lack of concentrated raw material areas and insufficient promotion of international audiences are major barriers.
There are too many varieties of longan, with no single variety truly represent the region. Even individual gardens often cultivate multiple varieties.
We must strengthen promotion and introduce the advantages of longan fruit and how to grow them, thereby introducing our cultural values. Customers these days not only care about product quality and price, but also the cultural value of the product.
To date, the province has 20 longan growing areas in Hưng Yên City and Huai Châu District that have been granted export codes for the US, Australia, China, and Japan. Additionally, Hưng Yên City has more than 10 longan growing areas that have received OTAS growing area codes, a standard that enables origin tracing for export.
The application of digital technology and the development of e-commerce have brought many OCOP products closer to consumers and even allowed for export to international markets. Ha Giang province has actively promoted and guided local farmers in digital transformation, contributing to the successful implementation of the province's comprehensive digital transformation program and creating a foundation for sustainable digital agricultural development for highland ethnic communities.
Thanks to the application of digital technologies and the development of an intelligent agricultural model, Phie tea has become a standout OCOP product. Among these, the green and black teas under the Phie brand have been certified as 5-star national OCOP products. However, the biggest breakthrough for the Phie cooperative came when they began selling on e-commerce platforms and social media channels.
Currently, e-commerce sales account for about 60% of our revenue. It is much more convenient than traditional sales methods. I don't have to find locations or fairs to promote products anymore.
The Phie cooperative is also one of the pioneers in digital transformation in Ha Giang province. OCOP products from the cooperative, such as meat, honey, medicinal herbs, and specialty agricultural products from Ha Giang, have appeared on various domestic e-commerce platforms. Last year, the cooperative's revenue increased by about 80% compared to traditional sales channels.
We apply QR codes on each product so that customers can trace the origin of the product, its content, and how to use it. They can acquire more information about our products and the cooperative.
Ha Giang is a mountainous province with nearly 90% of the population being ethnic people. Therefore, authorities at all levels in Ha Giang province have participated and accompanied local people in expanding sales channels in digital platforms.
We have participated in training courses on product traceability and how to build communication for a product. Local communication channels have also supported us in promoting products. Thanks to them, many customers have come to us.
This is a quick and effective solution to connect with the market. Ha Giang's good products have been promptly spread to consumers as well as domestic and foreign tourists. The local people have more jobs and are willing to promote the transformation of production models.
Ha Giang province has 157 products certified with OCOP stars, and more than 117,000 agricultural production households have accounts on e-commerce platforms. This is also the premise for Ha Giang to continue its efforts to apply digital transformation in agricultural production and bring OCOP products to domestic and international markets.
Now, before we move on to other important updates, let's take a look at the foreign exchange rates of today, August 9. Coming up next on VTV News. Lâm Đồng develops landslide warning system. And Sa Huỳnh people strive to preserve soap-making profession. A fishing boat with 11 crew members from Thừa Thiên Huế collided with a cargo ship anchored near the Thuận An Sanctuary in Huế City early Thursday morning. The collision caused the fishing boat to partially sink, stranding the 11 fishermen. Upon receiving the report, the Thừa Thiên Huế Provincial Border Guard Command promptly directed the Thuận An Port Border Guard Station and the 2nd Squadron to develop a rescue ship. By 5 a.m. that same day, all 11 crew members from the fishing boat were safely transferred to the cargo ship. The Border Guard forces are currently working with other means to salvage the sunken vessel and investigate the collision. The rain in the north has stopped and water flow into hydroelectric reservoirs is gradually decreasing. On Friday morning, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development issued an urgent directive to close the spillway gates of several reservoirs, in line with the operation process of the multi-reservoir system in the Red River Basin. At 11 a.m. Friday, the Tuyên Quang Hydropower Reservoir closed one bottom spillway gate, while the Thác Bà Hydropower Reservoir in Yên Bái closed one surface spillway gate. Now, as such, all gates at these two plants are now closed. Currently, only two large hydropower plants on the Da River branch of the Red River Basin still have open spillway gates. These include the Sơn La Reservoir with 2 bottom gates open, the Hòa Bình Reservoir with 4 bottom gates open. Now, according to a review by Lâm Đồng Province's functional sector, there are currently over 420 landslide-prone areas, putting more than 1,200 households at risk. Most of these areas face a high likelihood of landslides, especially during rain or adverse conditions. Lâm Đồng, currently at the peak of its rainy season, experiences higher than average national rainfall. The continuous rain has saturated the soil, leading to landslides that have caused loss of life and property. In response, the province has established a disaster warning system, particularly in landslide hotspots. Prolonged rainfall has triggered landslides in Lâm Đồng, with more expected over the coming months. As a result, local authorities are under pressure to both address the aftermath and establish a disaster warning system, especially in high-risk landslide areas.
This is an image of Ha Giang Street in Ward 10, Đà Lạt City, taken 3 years ago. At that time, a devastating landslide threatened the nearby residential area on this hillside. Along with managing landslides, a warning system was installed here last year. This device signals potential landslides, allowing residents to evacuate promptly. Local authorities can monitor the landslide-prone area's status through data transmitted from the device to computers at the Ward 10 People's Committee headquarters. Residents living in the landslides-prone area, who once felt anxious every rainy season, are now reassured.
If the device goes off or the line flashes red and green, the residents are alerted.
This residential area in Ward 2, central Dalat City, experienced a landslide in 2017, putting numerous houses in extreme danger. With the help of Japanese experts, the landslide was managed alongside a warning system that has been maintained over the years.
As soon as the warning wire is pulled, it's triggered an alarm. Everything has been stable since residents are relieved.
During this rainy season, the province has identified no fewer than 400 landslides-prone areas. Local authorities are currently assessing potential landslide risks to provide early warnings. A project to investigate and evaluate additional disaster data and map risk zones is also underway.
Based on this map, we can identify areas suitable for residential settlements or areas where construction is prohibited or limited. This will improve the management of state construction permits. We require the Department of Natural Resources and Environment to complete this by the end of this year.
Given the recent recurrence of landslides, localities now recognize the need for a landslide warning map despite its challenges. This will ensure long-term safety in building construction and residential area planning, eliminating the need for residents to relocate to avoid landslides.
Now, following a prolonged drought, heavy rains have sparked a surge in biodiversity at Phu Quoc National Park. Unfortunately, illegal loggers are taking advantage of these conditions to harvest timber and poach wildlife unlawfully. In response, Phu Quoc National Park, alongside the Forest Protection Department and local authorities, has deployed multiple teams to intensify patrols and target hotspots of illegal activity.
In the verdant expanse of Phu Quoc National Park, footsteps trace paths through forests, digitally searching for any breaches in forest protection. The task force is well acquainted with these traps, a common challenge they face in their mission. Spanning over 70,000 hectares, Phu Quoc National Park includes special use forests, protected forests, and marine reserves. Forests make up 2/3 of the park. The varied terrain, combined with the presence of local communities living in the forest, adds complexity to the conservation efforts.
I start by checking if anyone has broken a tree branch to mark the path. Next, I look for footprints and then I examine any cut branches. These clues help me determine if someone has entered the forest.
We patrol key areas regularly. If we spot any issues, we secure the scene, arrest the suspect, and report it to the authorities.
Since 2023, authorities have conducted nearly 5,000 raids, uncovered 167 violations, imposed fines totaling nearly $12,000. Phu Quoc National Park is currently supported by 18 forest protection teams that patrol in rotation to protect the area.
The culprits often operate during off hours and holidays, making it tough to catch them. They also use lookouts and communication systems to stay ahead of our patrols.
Phu Quoc National Park was designated a UNESCO World Biosphere Reserve in 2006. This recognition has driven the park to pursue a sustainable ecotourism strategy, focusing on environmental protection, minimizing tourism impact on nature, and preserving the island's green forests.
Don't Cry Butterfly, the debut feature by young director Dương Diệu Linh, will be screened at the 2024 Venice Film Festival. Set in Hanoi, the film follows a middle-aged woman who turns to black magic after discovering her husband's affairs, inadvertently awaken mysterious supernatural forces in her home. This is the third consecutive director from the CJ Short Film Project to make an impact with the first feature film. Now, during a search for archaeological relics of the Sa Huỳnh culture in Gò Cỏ village, Phổ Thạch Ward, Đức Phổ town, Quảng Ngãi province, archaeologists discovered a 2,000-year-old salt field used by the ancient Sa Huỳnh people. Today, salt making remains a challenging profession with unstable income. As a result, most young people in the village seek work elsewhere, leaving only a few to maintain and preserve this traditional craft.
Under the scorching sun, Vân carries a basket across the rocky rapids to reach the salt-making field. She builds banks with clay on flat rocks, then fills them with seawater. After 3 days, the water evaporates and crystallizes, forming white salt.
During winter, seawater covers the rocky shore. In the second lunar month, the water gradually recedes, leaving saltwater puddles. We build banks to retain the salt water, following the same method our ancestors used.
This salt pan, covering an area of about 10 hectares, the ancient Sa Huỳnh people developed a unique salt-making technique that is rarely found elsewhere. And nowadays, few people continue this salt-making profession. But for elders like Vân, preserving the tradition of making salt on rocks remain crucial.
There was a period when salt was too cheap, making it difficult to earn a living, so they stopped doing it for a while. Now we're restoring our ancestors' salt-making technique and trying to preserve the profession.
We will conduct a series of laboratory analyses to determine the age of the salt-making profession here. This will provide valuable insights for comparing the salt-making practices of prehistoric people in this area with those in Southeast Asia and in the Asian region. This will also contribute to our understanding of the Sa Huỳnh culture.
The technique of making sea salt on rocks in Gò Cỏ village has been passed down uninterrupted from the Sa Huỳnh period through the Champa and Đại Việt eras. Preserving and promoting the cultural value of this traditional craft will contribute significantly to the proposal for recognizing the Sa Huỳnh Cultural Archaeological Site as a World Heritage Site.
Coming up next in our world news. Israel agrees to resume Gaza ceasefire talks next week. And Japan warns of increased risk of megaquake. Now moving on to our world news, Israel has agreed to resume Gaza ceasefire talks on August 15th, following calls from U.S., Qatari, and Egyptian mediators, according to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office. Previously, the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt invited Israel and Hamas to resume urgent talks in Doha or Cairo to finalize the details and implement the framework agreement. However, the possibility of reaching a ceasefire agreement remains uncertain, as the new political leader of Hamas, Yahya Sinwar, has conveyed to Egyptian mediators an uncompromising stance on key issues preventing a ceasefire deal in Gaza. Republican presidential nominee Donald Trump and his Democratic rival Kamala Harris will face off in a debate on September 10th on the ABC television network. On Thursday, Trump announced his campaign had agreed to 3 debates to be hosted by Fox News, ABC News, and NBC News. Harris later confirmed her participation in the ABC debate on Thursday and expressed willingness to discuss additional debates. An Ipsos poll published on Thursday showed Harris has extended her lead over Trump with a 42% support compared to Trump's 37%. The Japanese Meteorological Agency issued a megaquake advisory on Thursday night local time, urging people to be alert but not to evacuate. This advisory came hours after the 7.1 magnitude earthquake occurred off the southern island of Kyushu, which reportedly caused no major damage. The agency warned that in a worst-case scenario, a strong earthquake could shake a large area of Japan, from the Kanto region centered around Tokyo to the southwestern Kyushu region, and high tsunami waves could engulf coastal areas from Kanto to Okinawa. The government's Earthquake Research Committee estimates a 70 to 80% probability that a massive earthquake with a magnitude of 8 to 9 will occur within the next 30 years. Prime Minister Kishida Fumio called on people to be prepared for the risk of further earthquakes. A world's largest 3D printed neighborhood with 100 houses is being completed in the Wolf Ranch residential area, Georgetown City, Texas State, U.S. More to follow.
Like any desktop 3D printer, the 3D printing company Icon's Vulcan printer goes layer by layer to build an object, except this printer is more than 45 feet wide, weighs 4.75 tons, and prints residential homes. This summer, the robotic printer is finishing the last few homes of 100 3D printed houses in Wolf Ranch, a community in Georgetown, Texas, about 30 miles from Austin, Texas.
One layer at a time, Vulcan prints a full house. It goes from the front of the slab to the back for one layer, and for these homes in particular, after 10 feet of printing in a few days, you have the wall system for a house.
Compared to traditional construction, the company says that 3D printing homes is faster, less expensive, requires fewer workers, and minimizes waste of construction materials. The single-story 3D printed homes take about 3 weeks to finish printing.
So, given the housing shortage that our country's dealing with, and especially for affordably priced homes, it's never been more important for us to innovate, to find new methods of constructing homes that enhances how we build the homes and how our customers live in those homes.
The 3D printed homes at Wolf Ranch, collectively called the Genesis Collection by developers, range in price from around $450,000 to close to $600,000. Developers said a little more than 1/4 of the 100 homes have been sold.
Now let's move on to the weather forecast. And that's all the news we have for this hour. To rewatch our program, you can download our mobile app VTVgo or check out our YouTube channel VTV4Go. Thank you for watching and see you next time.